And many thanks indeed for joining us here on Morning Prime. My name is Dibala Nair. It is 20th of March 2023, and I'm glad that you've chosen KTN News as your channel of choice to inform you and, of course, keep you apprised of what is happening today. Today being that particular day that everyone has been waiting to see how it will pan out. They've been keeping their eyes peeled and keeping out their ears as well. This is the mass action day that had been pronounced by Azimio. And of course, also we've had reactions from the government in regard to this particular day. They pronounced this day, of course, not a day that has been given the thumbs up by the government, going by what the police were telling us today. And Raila Odinga is not throwing back, is going full steam ahead with the mass action. Today, we, of course, we're on the ground to give you full coverage of this and what will be happening. There's fear and trepidation in the country regarding, of course, how the peace will prevail. Businesses, will they be adversely affected by this demonstration? Schools, some of the parents as well this morning, they've chosen and elected not to take their children to school because of the mass action. So there is variegated reactions that we are getting from everywhere, from the clergy, from, of course, the civil society, the politicians themselves, and the people have different views about this mass action. Do we really go this way? Are we supposed to react in this manner of fashion when it comes to protesting? Or is there another avenue that we can use to channel our grievances? This morning I'm joined by Farah Malim, who is a member of parliament for Dadaab. Also I'm joined by Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who is a governance and policy analyst. Later we'll be joined by Esther Passaris and Hilary Sigay. Esther Passaris is the woman rep for Nairobi, and Hilary Sigay, he is the senator for Bomet. So we have a full show today. And as I mentioned, our reporters will be on the ground as well to make sure they keep an eye on the events and how they pan out today. And before we go there, let's just see what is also fresh off the press this morning regarding this day. Most of it really covering the day and how it will be. This is the headline, Day of Showdown, beginning with the bold paper. President William Ruto says he will not buckle under pressure from opposition protest, while the church called for dialogue. On day, Raila insisted the march is unstoppable. Day of Showdown, no let up. The story is well covered for you on page 3, 4, 6 and 7 of the Standard this morning. And we have Ruto's take here saying Raila is a cause of the problems the country is facing. Raila does not want to follow the law in selecting IBC commissioners. Opposition wants to cause anarchy. Raila wants to put country on a chokehold. Government will stop him. And we have Raila's take as well on the other side. Ruto must open the IBC service. General 4 must be reinstated. Cost of living has to come down. Government ought to reinstate subsidies through review of laws, not piecemeal reforms. That is what we have on the front page of the Standard this morning. And also, court ruling gives drugs war shot in the army is another story that you want to follow on page 10 and 11 of the Standard. Also, we have health and science. A second chance here. It always comes on Monday. It comes on Monday for you. So get acquainted with what is inside health and science this morning. Let's see what we have on the teaser on top there. How varsities weathered income storm. That is tucked away on page 14. Trump fears arrest, calls for demos. That is another story that is on page 31. Trump fears arrest, calls for demos. Also power sector in limbo over CEO's delays. Power sector in limbo over CEO's delays. That is another story that you want to follow on page 20 of the Standard. Girls from Kitale seek hockey glory on page 37 of the Standard. Let's see what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation. Ruto backs stocks as Raila protests start. That is another story that you want to follow there on page on the front page of the Daily Nation. Ruto backs stocks as Raila protest starts. Demonstrations also planned in South Africa, Tunisia and Nigeria. This is the D-Day. That is a flag that is here. Now it calls for dialogue between President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga intensified. The head of state yesterday said he was willing to hold conditional talks, even as the opposition chief rallied troops for demonstrations today. Full story on page 6 and 7 of the Daily Nation today. Related stories are also inside. Schools changes reopening dates to protect students, and Catholic bishops urge leaders to choose dialogue over mass action. That is how this has penetrated and affected even the school calendar. And public universities where your tribe will get you a job. Public universities where your tribe will get you a job is all about nepotism and tribalism in selection of employees or people who are seeking employment. Mystery as pastor meets her death in gospel musician's house. Follow that story on page 4. And public to access KDF hospitals. That is another story that you want to follow. Defense PSA's move will help facilitate self-sustaining. That is the Daily Nation. The Star. Raila vows State House march on. Ruto warns. Raila vows State House march on. Ruto warns. That is the story that you want to follow there. Showdown. Tough talk or tough talking president says he won't allow Odinga to terrorize Kenya. Raila vows State House march on. Ruto warns. A former PM asks supporters to gather in CBD from dawn to march to claim our victory, quote unquote there. And this story continues on page 4 and 5 of the Star this morning. And we can see how it panned out yesterday. Here we have clockwise from top Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and President William Ruto during a church service in Kapsabet, Nairobi County. And that story continues inside the Star. Also, women flood came to see new mortuary diploma course. That is another story that you want to follow on page 3 of the Star this morning. Women flood came to see new mortuary diploma course. That is another story that you want to follow on page 3 of the Star this morning. And heat over Raila protest plan is what is on the front page of the People Daily. Heat over Raila protest plan is what is on the front page of the People Daily. Against one, all against one. Azimio nationwide rallies raise political temperatures as clerics and women leaders call for dialogue. Ruto and allies say any violence will be met with full force of law. What will give? That is a probing question. What will give? And we have reactions here. We have President Ruto. I want to tell you, Raila, I want to tell Raila, we will not allow destruction of property of innocent Kenyans. We have also Kithure Kindiki saying any person who incites public disorder or breaches the peace shall be prosecuted. Also Mudavadi is saying what we are seeing from Azimio is not genuine agitation, but we are seeing provocation. We don't wish to compound the problems Kenyans face with the risk of violence. This is what Martin Kivuva, a clergy, is saying. And also we have Zipporah Kitoni. I don't know when we will get time to plan for the betterment of this country. Raila Odinga himself, the work of police is not to protect the lives of Kenyans. The work of police is to protect the lives of Kenyans and their property, not to give licenses. And that was a row regarding the licenses that were or was given for this. Awareness key to win the kidney disease war is another story to want to follow inside the People Daily this morning. Schools reopen amid cash crisis. That is a story that you could follow on page 3 of the People Daily this morning. Niroho mkononi, that is what Taifa Leo is holding for us. Niroho mkononi, taharuki, Raila akisisitiza sharti aingie Ikulu. Polisi waharamisha maandamano, Ruto naye akimfokea Odinga. That is the story that you want to follow inside Taifa Leo this morning. Makundi ya kwaruzana Kisumu. That is also how the tension was yesterday in Kisumu. And mama yake Ruto ahimiza amani iwepo. That is a call also from Ruto's mom. This is Taifa Leo. Business Daily. Marked parastatal CEOs as Ruto team eyes fresh faces. Marked parastatal CEOs as Ruto team eyes fresh faces. That is another story to follow inside the Business Daily this morning. Foreign investors dump over 4 billion shillings. That is Nairobi SE's shares. Foreign investor dump over 4 billion. That is the shares, 4 billion and Nairobi Securities Exchange shares. This is bound to really affect activity there at the NSE. Foreign investors have dumped over 4 billion Nairobi Securities Exchange shares in multi-year sell-offs which have left a more volatile bourse and low stock prices. That is the story that you want to follow inside the Business Daily this morning. Wind power generation nears hydro levels is another story that you want to follow also inside the Business Daily this morning. I shall give you more of the stories later, but this is also what we have on the front page of the East African. 40 million COVID vaccines are going to West. 40 million COVID vaccines are going to West. The doses that cost billions of dollars are expiring in stores across East Africa as apathy and logistical hitches impede distribution and demonstration. Also, Kagame's game plan for 2024, why not me? Asked the Rwandan leader about who's running for president. And you can see him also here playing football during the unveiling of the Kigali Pele Stadium on March the 15th, 2023. That is President Kagame there. And also, Samia, Sal, Airbus Wars, Tanzania and Senegal's Air 2020s grounded over defaults. States join hands, demand service. Also, East Africa to dial up cheap calls. Tanzania and Burundi under pressure to join the One Network area. That is the story you want to follow on page 3 of the East African. I shall be showing you much more of the dailies. But allow me now to rope in our guests who are already here in studio, up and Ali, and just talk about what everyone is expecting to see today regarding the demonstration, how the reactions will be also from the police. And Azimio are not really rowing back. They're going full steam ahead with the demonstrations. Farah Malim is with us, Member of Parliament for Dadaab. Also, we have Kiprito Arap Kirwa, who is a governance and policy analyst, a politician as well. And Esther Passaris, it's been a while since I saw you. Should I say Happy New Year?
Happy New Year.
Yes.
Yes, I've just come back from South Africa.
Yes.
I represent Kenya in the Pan-African Parliament. We had committee sittings for the last 2 weeks, so I jetted in yesterday. Yeah.
Yesterday in the morning? Yeah,
no,
jet
in the
lag.
evening.
In the evening.
Oh,
wow. Thank you. Thank you. I thought it was in the morning.
No, in the evening.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for joining. I really do appreciate it. So let's just hear from Kiprito Arap Kirwa. Azimio, I expected today you'll come full, fatigued. Yeah, with a cup and every paraphernalia of the demonstration.
The cup is in the car, and this is the uniform for...
And the fly whisk.
And a fly whisk.
Yeah, this
is a fly whisk appropriate as well.
And this is fatigue for Askari Mzee. Because for the young ones, of course, they wear different fatigue. But for me, I'm confident this is the way to go. Yeah.
So what do we expect today?
A lot of peaceful demonstration. And ours is really not to break any law. It's just to put pressure on the government to deal with the issues that we have raised, including the need for us to have effective dialogue and to do an audit of the Constitution so that we do not do piecemeal amendments of the Constitution. Because it is imperative that we look at it. We've had 13 years of this Constitution. We look at it and we see where does it fit us and where do we need to do amendments. Given the fact that even some of the people in power today, they were very opposed to the same Constitution that we have. And therefore, possibly their views and ours shall be shared commonly, and we shall be able to move to the next phase. Yep.
Farah Malim, your expectation today?
My expectations today, I don't know, frankly. I think there's going to be a few run-ins between them. By the way, you'll forgive me, I had contracted some flu, so...
Oh, sorry.
My voice is a little bit not what we're used to before. But nonetheless, I'll try and... my view is that there's going to be a few run-ins here and there, but nothing major. Nothing major. I mean, we've been through these things before, many times over the last 30 plus years. And I don't see us... it's not going to be much, in my opinion. We'll stand to see it. Let's watch and let's see what comes out of it. But I have been through this myself for a very long time, and I know what to expect in this case. If you ask me my honest opinion, nothing much. Nothing much? No. We got away with that last time because the people who are in power are also in business. They control the business of the country. The people who are in power today you can demonstrate for eternity. You're not going to mess William Ruto's business, and they already had nicknamed themselves as the hustler nation. These are the people, very poor people, and a bottom up kind of an economy. And when you say that the rich and the wealthy and the well-connected and the dynasties are the ones who are calling for the innocent poor young men and women to come and demonstrate on their behalf because they don't want to pay taxes.
Yes.
And all that attendant narratives that are there, I think they're happy. They're very happy. I mean, if I were them, I'd be very happy that this is happening right now, and if I had the other people as my opponents the way they are. So I think we might have just walked into a trap ourselves.
All right. We just want to hear what Raila Odinga had to say yesterday, and also President Ruto during the church service regarding this particular demonstrations today. Also, the police weighed in and they said, of course, there was a late delivery of them seeking their notification or giving the notification to the police regarding this, and people are also contemplating and complaining regarding the notification. What is the stipulated hours for them to be given this notification? Let's just begin by listening to what Raila Odinga had to say regarding today.
Less than 12 hours before the Azimio Umoja One Kenya team kick off their planned mass action that they say, despite the government's hard stance, will be a grand march to their house on the hill. And speaking on Sunday morning, the Azimio chief drew the line in the sand, firing a warning shot at President William Ruto to prepare for a showdown of unprecedented magnitude.
All Kenyans of goodwill should converge tomorrow, march together to the center of the city. And once we have gathered at the center of the city, it shall be a grand march to State House to claim our victory.
Speaking in Kajiado County, where he attended a church service at ATG Church Rongai and later on a series of rallies, Odinga asked his supporters to assemble at the Central Business District early morning to begin the demonstrations.
This is all tunatembea alfajiri saa 12 wamefika kule KICC. Sawa, wangapi watakuja? Sisi tumesema Ruto apende asipende, kesho tuko wapi? Kesho tuko wapi? Tunataka ashukishe bei ya unga, sawa sawa? Kesho kujeni Nairobi nyote. Wangapi watakuja?
Azimio maintained their mass action will be peaceful, calling on the government to respect their rights as enshrined in the Constitution.
If you cannot come to Nairobi, demonstrate where you are, peacefully. But those who can come to Nairobi, come to Nairobi. Tuingie ndani ya Nairobi. Tuonyesha hao waoga ya kwamba Kenya ni kubwa kushinda hao.
God does not want cowards in this battle. Na yeye hii vita ni yake. Ours is just to stand firm and see the victory of God.
Hata mimi kesho nimeandika kwa mitandao, mimi kesho si mbunge. Mimi nitakuwa tu Mkenya wa kawaida, kwa sababu wale ambao tunafaa kutembea nao katika bunge kutetea mwananchi wa kawaida, they are failed.
Odinga's remarks were also echoed by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and NARC Kenya leader Martha Karua, who attended a church service at Unshakable Faith Church Komarok, where they reiterated they were unshakable in their mass march Monday.
Article 37 of the Kenyan Constitution inakupa uhuru bila kubeba silaha. Bora usibebe silaha. Uhuru wa kufanya maandamano, wa kufanya hata picketing.
Na sijui kama His Excellency na Wakamba wamewatumia tairi. Tairi zinachomwa France. Ukiangalia unaona moto. Ni njia ya kugoma.
Kama uko na kitambaa nyeupe kuja naye, kama uko na bendera ya Kenya kuja naye, mkono yako isiwe na silaha, isiwe na mawe.
Odinga had earlier clarified that they would also be going to the office of the president at Harambee House Annex if their access to State House is unsuccessful. And despite the government terming their meeting illegal, the Azimio Umoja One Kenya Brigade now maintains their meeting will continue as planned, and the planned protest will begin from here, the KICC, all the way to the State House, Nairobi. Emmanuel Tor, KTN News, KICC, Nairobi.
In the meantime, the president spoke quite movingly also regarding today's demonstration, and this is what he had to say during a church service in Nandi.
The head of state was accompanied by national and local leaders, castigated the former Premier Raila Odinga for not respecting the law and the constitutional institutions that are mandated to spearhead the election, claiming that the opposition has dragged politics to the Law Society of Kenya, civil societies and parliamentary committee tasked to recruit new electoral commissioners.
Mr. Raila Odinga has no reason whatsoever. He doesn't have a reason to terrorize the country with violence, demonstrations, and chaos. He is telling us that he wants to decide who will appoint the IEBC. He doesn't want the law. He doesn't want the constitution. He doesn't want the Law Society of Kenya to appoint people. He doesn't want religious leaders to appoint people. He doesn't want PSC. He doesn't want Parliamentary Service Commission. He doesn't want political parties to decide. He wants to decide himself. Getting people to Nairobi to come and destroy property because it's immoral, it's unacceptable, it's ungodly, and it cannot be accepted in a normal society.
Let the leaders of this country, and particularly those in opposition, differentiate between agitation and provocation, because Kenya has got a lot of items to deal with, and the leaders have spoken to those items.
The head of state said he will not yield to ultimatums to distract the government from delivering its economic plans to transform the livelihoods of all Kenyans.
Mimi nataka niwaulize maaskofu, haya mambo ya maandamano, nyinyi mtaomba Mungu, sisi tutapambana na hawa. Kwa sababu ile maneno ambayo tunaambiwa ya maandamano, nyinyi mnajua haya mambo. Mheshimiwa rafiki yangu Bwana Odinga hana sababu yeyote ya kutupiganisha, kulete maandamano, kulete fujo, kulete vita. Hana sababu yeyote.
We cannot allow this country to be held hostage by one individual for so many years. I think this is the right time that our wananchi walifanya division of labor. Walikuchagua ukue rais, wale wengine wakakuwa upinzani. Kila mtu afanye kazi.
Honorable Raila Odinga cannot choose which part of the constitution to respect. It is the same constitution that declared the results of the presidency as valid. It is the same constitution that did the interpretation of the Supreme Court petition they took.
The leader said there will be no room for handshake with Raila in President Ruto's administration.
Viti wamebeba, chakula wamekula. Sasa haja kashifu hiyo watu na anasema Nairobi kutakuwa nama. Has he condemned the violence against innocent people and theft of food and chairs in Kisumu?
And I will ask you, Your Excellency, without fear, without ill will, without favoritism, act decisively. Inspector General of Police must make sure anybody who destroys other Kenya's property must be arrested and taken to court.
That aside, the head of state promised to complete toll projects in Nandi. Elvis Kosgei, KTN News, Kapsabet, Nandi County.
The police have declared today's demonstrations illegal, and that Azimio Laumoja submitted their notification late. Let's just hear more on that story.
Major blow for the Azimio La Umoja coalition after the National Police Service declared Monday's much anticipated mega protest in the capital illegal. Nairobi Police Commander Adamson Bungei said that he had received requests from two groups intending to hold protest on the same day, but neither of them met the requirements of the Public Order Act to receive a green light, which requires that persons planning to picket inform the police at least 3 days prior.
Azimio and Kenya intended to have a maandamano mass demonstration, and the businessmen as well intended to have a peaceful demonstration against the same. But for the public interest, I just want to inform you that both of them did not meet the thresholds of the law, and therefore their requests were declined.
Section 5 of Chapter 56 of the Public Order Act of 2012 states that any person intending to convene a public meeting or a public procession shall notify the regulating officer of such intent at least 3 days, but not more than 14 days before the proposed date of the public meeting or procession. The letter to notify the police should comprise of the date, time, and intentions of the particular exercise. Due to this, Bungei said no roads will be closed and that he expects businesses to run as usual, assuring Kenyans that their security and that of their properties is well guaranteed. According to him, officers will only be deployed on need basis.
We will engage and deploy our men appropriately, depending on the need basis. As I speak here, none of those intending to participate tomorrow have met the thresholds of Public Order Act of 2012. That, therefore, it is very clear within the law what is supposed of any other person of goodwill to this country, of goodwill to the city of Nairobi, to ensure that he or she complies with the law.
But Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga dismissed the reports by police, saying they had already informed them on time.
Police kazi yao ni kulinda wananchi, sio kupatia wewe leseni. Wakati wa polisi walikuwa napeana leseni ilikwisha na katiba ya ile mkongwe ambayo tulizika. Hii sasa inatakana ndio wewe umwambie polisi, kesho mimi nitafanya mkutano pale, njoni mlete usalama. Sawa sawa? Kwa hivyo police wamekuwa notified and we will not be intimidated or blackmailed by the police.
And with Azimio's threat of staging a grand march to State House, he dared them against invading the premises, saying it will not be accessed by unauthorized persons as it's a restricted area by the law.
Covered by laws of Kenya, chapter 204 of the laws of Kenya. First is schedule. Go and read. Well underlined. What are restricted areas? What are those restricted areas? Those are areas that are not, or no person who is not authorized is allowed to get entry to. So I want Kenyans to be guided, to be informed by the law, not by persons of personal interest.
Through a statement, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki reiterated that Monday will be a normal working day, saying any person who incites the public disorder or otherwise breaches the peace in any part of the country shall be prosecuted. Grace Nganga, KTN News, Nairobi.
All right, those are the stories acting as a segue now to a discussion here. And we have also the editorial cartoon. This is from Ozone in the Star. And looking at the protesters there, or yes, they are divided. We have the food soldiers and food soldiers. So the food soldiers are the one who are actually pulling that particular carriage. And you can see who are aboard on that particular carriage there. We have the police also, you know, with their batons beating people there. The canisters as well. Today we expect a lot of lobbing of a tear gas. This is what has been drawn by Ozone there. Farah, you're laughing. What do you decipher from this, Kipruto Rapkirwa? Also, we have Hilary Sigay with us. Esa Pasaris.
I'm laughing at how...
Who are the food soldiers and who are the food soldiers?
How spot on it is.
Because...
Kirwa, I've been through this myself for many, many years. And I know how it all ended up. And I pity Kenyans. Yeah.
You pity Kenyans?
Yeah.
Kirwa.
Yes.
What do you decipher from that cartoon? If you may just have it back, please.
Are we on?
Yeah, we're on. That's why I'm asking you.
Nobody's fighting for Kenyans. Yeah.
Nobody's fighting for
Nobody's fighting for Kenyans. Everybody's fighting for himself or herself in that case.
Esa Pasaris.
No, I beg to differ. I think Raila has his heart in the right place. You know, we might not take it seriously right now, but the citizens have got to have confidence in the electoral process. And that confidence is not there. That's why 8 million people never went to vote. Now, that should be a question that everybody wants to resolve, because once you refuse to exercise your democratic right to vote, it's because you don't see that it has any value. Now, that is a bad place to be at. In the next election in 2027, we might end up with more than 50% not voting. So we need an electoral process that is just. We need an electoral process that is transparent. I've seen President Ruto saying that he cannot open the servers. It is not in his mandate. But it might not be in your mandate, but it's in the interest of Kenyans, the confidence that he needs for Kenyans to know that the electoral process is free, fair, and credible. I mean, open the servers. Have the international community there. Have auditors there. Open the servers. Let's put it to bed. And if there were anything that went wrong with the servers and the electoral process, then we work towards making sure we strengthen our electoral process. So when Baba is talking about the electoral process, it might not be about him, but he has been a victim. And by him being a victim, all the citizens that support Raila's presidency over the years have actually been victims of electoral malpractice. So I feel that that was not a very big ask, right? Kiro says that we need to look at our constitution. I agree. Our constitution needs to be looked at. The BBI, which was Baba's again program, was all about looking at our constitution. We didn't get it right. The winner can't take it all. You need a strong opposition that is funded. Our opposition is not funded. Raila commands 50% of our electorate, right? Any other leader in the future who will command 50% of the electorate cannot be left out in the cold, because he commands 50% of the electorate. I feel that there is a lot of wisdom in the Tanzanian president and how she handles the opposition. She said, we finish with elections, but there are opposition leaders who have followings, right? And they know what they promise to the people that they follow them. So I actually called everybody to the table and we sat down and said, elections are over. What's the best way to go for our country? She recently said that when she went for the International Women's Day celebration, she did not organize it as state. It was organized by the opposition, but she went as a guest of the opposition. That doesn't mean that you will not be able to address the issues of government when they are wrong, but it just means that together you put the agenda of the Kenyan people. And this is why I see Farah Maalim's frustration in, are we really fighting for the people? Because when you're fighting for the people, you want peace. Today's demonstration, unfortunately, might not go peaceful. Why? Because there are people in Kenya Kwanza who will do everything possible to make sure that it's not peaceful. All right, so that they can implicate Baba as being somebody who doesn't run peaceful demonstrations. I believe that if we had the permission, the protection, and you know, I feel also there are certain areas where our party also didn't do right because we've given conflicting information. We should have actually said starting point here, ending point here, and the purpose. So I feel that we have made demonstrations by nature become unpeaceful, you know, because even in 2017 we said we're going to do demonstrations, and we go out there to do demonstrations, and there are people who will come with stones, there are people who will come with sticks, there's tear gas, there's anger, there's a lot of things. So we are not in that space where we can actually say we're demonstrating peacefully, because it's also an opportunity for thieves and thugs to come out and take advantage. So I pray that today somehow Kenya can prove that we can have peaceful demonstrations, we can exercise our right as citizens. But I feel that, you know, judging from the demonstrations that we've had, you know, countering demonstrations, there's going to be a clash of citizens, and you don't want to clash citizens. That's the worst thing to do to any country, put citizens against each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Hilary Sigei. I think he's also straight from Nandi. You are the chat service. You can tell us, just give us a feel and flavor of how it was, or I'm wrong.
Thanks, Dibal. Yes. You are wrong, yes, because unfortunately I was in my county yesterday.
You're in the county?
I was in Bomet yesterday. I did not manage to attend the prayer rally in Nandi. But of course, at some point, I followed the proceedings, especially when I was on my way back to Nairobi.
Yes.
I listened through what went on, what leaders spoke out there, and what it was all about. So at least I have an idea or two of the conversation that went on there. But then let me begin by, first of all, answering a bit of what my colleague, Honorable Pasaris, has mentioned. All political parties in Kenya are funded. I was actually trying to check on the Gazette notice, which was published on the 4th of November 2022. And the party that Baba owns, ODM, was funded with 308 million disbursed quarterly. So in essence, we're saying the electoral process in Kenya, where political parties are included in this case, have got a funding from the exchequer. As to how that finance is managed, it is a preserve of the political party, as it were. The conversation about the demos today it's been a long story. We have had this conversation for over now a month or so. The different thing that we are seeing at today is the transformation of the demands by the Honorable Raila Odinga. It began, remember Dibal, from Bomas of Kenya at the Tiling Center, where we all sat there for a couple of days. I was there for almost 4 days continuously. And we all know the consequences of that event, from when we went to the Tiling Center until when the results were declared. It followed to Supreme Court, where parties opted to go to where there was supposed to be a decision by the court. A decision was made. Thereafter, a government took office. It went on from there. So in essence, there has been a mutating demand. As at now, I would tell you, none of the supporters of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga knows why they are demonstrating. From electoral injustices, from a general election they purported to have lost, from a decision of the Supreme Court, from a tethered economy that he played a big role in bringing it down, from a changed trajectory of the program of the government of Jubilee 2017-2022, departing from the 4 agenda item to BBI and to personalize investment in the government, to now the cost of living, to now the cost of fuel, to what they are calling it a 2-community administration. I mean, honestly, you cannot point out as to what it is. Of course, as leaders, we know we have got a challenge in terms of the current economic status. The cost of living is very high. When you look at the cartoon, what they are saying and what they are telling us, we've got the food soldiers and the food soldiers. And we've got the buttons by the police in the middle there as to who they are fighting, who they are beating down, who they are, globbering there. It is granted that the cost of living is not friendly to everyone. But the unfortunate thing is that instead of focusing on structured engagement towards bringing back the economy, it's become an option to fight, an option to seek for attention. And that explains the reason why 90% of the governors who are running county governments are saying, we do not want to be part and parcel of this demonstration. We want to work for the people. They gave us a mandate, including governors from ODM zones, including very good number of MPs who have decided, look, we have had an election where observers across the board gave a clean bill and people accepted that decision by the ballot, by the Supreme Court, and they've sort of moved on. So to begin with, what's going to happen today is an illegality in the first place. And we have seen everyone speaking about it. Of course, other than a few who are saying, we want to get the attention. It might be that Baba would be, as Pasari says, having 5 million voters, 6 million voters, or 7 million voters, who, of course, exercise their political right. They have every right to do that. But we always say, the majority will always have their way. The minority must always have their say. And that has happened. That was seen. That was witnessed. That is where we are. And that is why they're being told, if you want to demonstrate, you have a constitutional right to do so. But then the same constitution gives a guide and also limitations as to the extent of enjoying that right. And those limitations are there. You cannot destroy property. You cannot beat up people. You cannot, do that which the constitution allows you to do, but within the confines of that thing. But the way they are talking, issuing threats, purporting to say we are going to march, that is actually a constitutional breach, which in simple terms, I would say would amount to treason. You can't. But then again, you look at, we were going to march to the State House. The other day when he was being interviewed, he just reduced and said, we're trying to submit a memorandum. They can as well just send him, go and submit the memorandum. There is no harm. Yeah. Kenya is a free and democratic state.
Let's hear from Kipruto. You just tell us as well, because there's also confusion on what Raila is saying. Are we having a march protest towards State House, or there is a selected delegation that will go to State House to deliver that memorandum or notification to the president? Or what is it that you want to present to the president? So there's no clarity on this as well. So people are still in confusion. Who are the selected few who will be now marching towards State House? Or is it a mass action of every, a person from every walk of life and every stripe walking towards State House?
It's very interesting listening to Senator Sige, somebody I respect so much, that we are threatening with violence. Nothing can be further from the truth. All the barazas that we've had, there's not been a shred of violence at all. And therefore, anybody talking about violence possibly is just a figment of imagination or an intention to talk about it so that it looks like the demonstration is going to be violent today. On the second issue that you've just raised, it is clear, Baba said last night on TV, that they have no intention of merging and breaking anything in State House, but they will be able to pass the message on the referendum, that on the issues that we have raised. And it is good dialogue. The fact that the president, the deputy president, and Senator Sige here are talking about the issues we've raised is very important. There is some beginning of dialogue, but the problem is that it is not structured dialogue because nobody is listening on the other side. Or when they listen and they hear what we are saying, they do not want to accept that those are realities. Because when they were fighting to get into power, they did not think of the international community as part of this system. They were saying anything happening in Ukraine did not have anything to do with the escalating prices of things in Kenya.
Yeah.
But today, they own it up. Possibly they learned about international affairs the other day after they got into power. So these are some of the challenges, but what we need to do is how do we improve trust in our electoral process. We've gone through these elections before, and we'll still go through other elections. And you've seen anytime there is no consultation, there is breach of trust, and that is why things are bungled. Remember in 1997, when there was discussion between the two sides of the House under what we call the IPPG, and we brought about 21 commissioners, 10 from the government and 10 from the opposition. The next election was peaceful. The 97 elections, 2002, but 2007, when the then president decided to choose a commission that was full of people who were considered to be government, it precipitated the election violence that you saw, because people did not believe that the electoral commission was as fair as it should have been. So what we are telling the president, and I'm happy Senator Sige is here, he had taken some amendments to the House, to the Senate, with a view to ensuring that there is participation of both sides of the House in choosing the commissioners. But why he did not move those amendments, I do not know. because he had very good amendments that both sides of the House would have felt that they were part and parcel of this particular process. Because if you are choosing a referee must be seen to be fair and also must commit himself that it is going to enter into a fair process. That is where we feel there is a problem about the next general election, because the referee is going to be chosen by one person, pretending that they are doing it under the law. Which law? The law that they refuse to amend to capture the imagination of Kenyans. If in revenue sharing commission, we are both sides of the house. If getting the people going to East Africa, we are both sides of the house. Why not the referee of the next election, or any other election for that matter? These are some of the issues that we need to discuss and accept that there is a problem in this country. Today, Ruto may be the president. Tomorrow, somebody else will be the president. Would he want the situation obtaining today to obtain when he's in the opposition? These are some of the questions that he needs to know, and anybody from Kenya Kwanza needs to know. Yeah.
All right. Father Malim, I want you just to educate me because it seems also you have a chink in the armor in terms of giving the police a loophole to try and, poke holes on these particular demonstrations. Why would they really notify the police 3 days before so that they don't have any sort of excuse that we're being given by the police here? On the notification, yes.
Demonstrations and picketing are a constitutional right of all Kenyans. You can demonstrate, you can picket, you can do all that. The devil is in the details. The moment you go out there and you fail to observe that strict peacefulness of the thing, and in the process either people are hurt or businesses are broken into or some kind of a burglary is done, which of course with the kind of joblessness we have in this country, it's an expectation that everybody should be alive to. Then of course the police will have to do what they have to do. So this is the I was watching Malema, who is pushing for that one in South Africa, and he was told, will you take responsibility for whatever these protesters do? He says, no, it's the responsibility of the government to protect property and lives. I'm only taking responsibility for the fact that we will go out there. We have our own members who would want to do a good job, but anybody who wants to take advantage of this melee and in the process do other crimes, then let the police take their own action. So the point here is how much preparations to make sure that this is a very peaceful thing has been put in place. I know you're a young man, but look back in the early 60s and the mid 60s and the early 70s, when there was the civil rights movements in the States. The Selma, Montgomery, Birmingham, all those things that used to happen there. The church and the NAACP, which was the one which is organizing this, was so elaborate that those African Americans made sure that there is absolutely no crime. They were never, actually the violence was coming from the police. It was coming from the marshals and all those stuff they have because of that Jim Crow and racist South America, South US those days, the southern states. But the African Americans were not doing anything. But now you look at today, double down up now and go another 50 years, 60 years. Whether it is the man who was killed, Floyd Patterson, and any of those things. And then look at what happens in that inner city. I'm talking about LA and all those things, major places. There is a lot of looting, there's a lot of political crime out there. So much so that even the people who are organizing this do not want to be associated with some of these things. No, if we have done an elaborate, if my friend Raila Odinga and the other people who are involved in these things have done such elaborate arrangements and preparations to make sure as much as possible, minimize to the best possible, standards, any of those things, then the message comes across. You see what I mean? Peaceful demonstrations is the most effective thing. Mahatma Gandhi did it and got the independence of India through that. African Americans and all the people who are supporting the African Americans in the civil rights and the emancipation in the US did it, and got a lot of, what do you call those things, laws changed, and you can change this system. You can change a lot of things. But the two things that you have to be careful about: one, what is the politics in this? Is it a power game, or is it a serious interest of the people, the ordinary human being who is suffering out there, Kenyan? Are those the two things that are there? You get my point? Yeah. When you want to take it to that level, then you must involve the religious sector. You must involve what you call many other
civil society.
You don't leave that purely to the political class. That's why in the States it's not being done by the Democrats, or it's not being done by the Republicans, because one of them will be in power at any given time. But right now, when we say we as Azimio now are the peoples, and then some of those things which you can never have a control over, and you do not involve all the sectors of the society, very powerful sectors of society, to give it the legitimacy, to give it that right, you know what I mean? In the eyes of Kenyans, in the eyes of everybody else, that this is what do you call demonstrations? It is a picketing about serious issues that must be addressed. You are likely to get those results. You understand my point?
Yeah.
And I am one person who has advocated for that all along. Remember, I was the chairman of the welcoming back, what do you call, committee that was set up when Baba, while you were away, and Raila was coming back from the US. And in the shortest possible time, we lost the plot. You get my point?
Yes.
We lost the plot. The whole thing was about something else.
Yeah. Okay, let's circle back with that and more. But even as much as we have this enshrined in the Constitution, is your right to picket and demonstrate as well. There is procedure, there is protocol that you have to follow. If you file too late again, yeah, that is bound to cause problems. Like we see what the Bungei is saying right now. You file too late. And I think also Azimio and ODM, for that matter, has been, you know, put on the spot on coming a bit like a Johnny come lately in filing, even in petitions in court as well. You be presenting evidence very late. Now it's not really admissible. Why this? Why do you wait until the last minute? This is what we want to actually find out. And do you think today's demonstration will make any discernible difference so far?